Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. I wear glasses 'cause I'm so cool. I can predict the charts. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days. Billy Tom's on me for $9.99 a month.
Good morning. 11:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, November 14th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. Thank you all so much to everybody who's tuning in, especially on this bearish end of the week on Friday. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at this, we're finally starting to approach that 92,400 fair value gap on Bitcoin. If we come down here like we should, and we fill this out without coming up first, because it would be quite deflating, in my opinion, to go from here, go all the way up, back test the rising wedge breakdown, just have to come fall through next 92.4 and actually hit a technical drop that could bring us all the way down to, you hear that? 59,545. And we've talked about this. And this is the scenario of all scenarios where if it falls down, we can't hold anything. Clean the ears out. If we play that, we can't hold anything. Again, if it comes down there, we can't hold anything. Otherwise, every single gain we found in the big season is gone. So, what we have to do here, and we'll get to this, inverse head and shoulders, not technically invalidated. None of this is invalidated. None of the thoughts from yesterday are invalidated. It, in fact, came down to that lower boundary where I talked about at 222. And I said maybe it could stretch to 219, but you don't want to go below 222 area. Even coming down here is scary. Because now, in theory, you could get a rejection right here at 231, 232. And then you just roll back down. So, we're one quick $4,000 drop on Bitcoin from technically being able to go, in theory, maybe it goes down to 222 in double bottoms. Maybe it comes down to $1.77 to $1.82. Can I just say I absolutely love seeing Facebook complain about how all we do is just dump and dump every day. Oh, I love it. That's all you see everywhere. Facebook. It's loaded up on my Facebook channel. Like I don't get recommended on there, but I have almost 8,000 subscribers or followers on Facebook somehow by some miracle, since they won't recommend me. But yeah, I see that narrative on Facebook for sure. For sure. Actually, you know what? While we're all settling in, for anybody who didn't see this, and you don't have to read the writing, but it's just something that I put in the background because of what Dr. Jordan Peterson said. And like, just listen to this and think about where we're at in our crypto journey.
At the beginning, that our perception is action-oriented, that our problem is navigation. How do we get from point A to point B, from what is currently to what should be? We're always somewhere moving somewhere else. And then there's a gradient, which is why in this diagram, there's a slant upward. What's the gradient? Well, if you're aiming up, the gradient is upward. The gradient is uphill. The gradient is from a lesser place to a greater place. Why would you move from what is to what should be if the place you're headed to wasn't better than the place you're at, assuming that you're not engaged in some form of counterproductive self-destruction. So there's a value gradient in perception itself that sets up the landscape for emotion.
And I think that's very important, because what we're talking about today, what's setting up our landscape today, what's setting up our decision making in today's environment in crypto. Are we aiming up or are we aiming down? Do we have that projection of positive emotion, or are we letting emotion dictate our response here and getting fearful? Very strong message in what he said in those words, and it pertains very closely to this moment in time in the charts, to this moment in time in this environment, not just in crypto, but the economic landscape we're in. We're getting a tremendous opportunity that's developing in front of us, very much in front of us. And if you believe in our Lord and Savior and you ask God, Yahweh, Yahshua, for guidance and healing, I ask you to do a silent prayer for Dr. Jordan Peterson, as he's battling a lot. He talks about it. He's always been a little ill, but when he got the blah, 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 during that time, and he got the intonation, you know what I'm talking about, the jab, he got very ill and it's affected him. And now he's even having to take time. He hasn't made a video in a couple months. But yeah, so say a silent prayer for Dr. Jordan Peterson. I believe that they're probably trying to take him out at some point, but that's my own speculation. So just say a nice little prayer for him. But anyhow, I did get 5 subs, so we'll get to that. I wanted to thank the community. That Dogecoin and You is actually me. I used to have a channel on here after I started this channel because people were interested in my Dogecoin and Shiba analysis. And it actually got a little popular, but I didn't want to put so much time towards that. I wanted to put it all towards this channel, so I just stopped putting content because it wasn't worth it. Not to me. This community was where I wanted to be. But thank you to the 5 gifted subs. Scott Lowry, welcome back in Tom's Army, along with Senso, both in Tom's Army for your 2nd month, along with Swimmers with the Dust is Out House Crypto News. And let's see, Pilot, B, and Omar, welcome into Tom's Army for your 1st month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate that. But Scott Lowry didn't get the gifted sub. He's already in Tom's Army. Let's just make that clear. For his 2nd month with the Dust is Out House Crypto News. So I really thank everybody for tuning in. In this part of the shuffle now, the honest to God truth, and make sure you hit that like button, as only about half have hit the like button. So about 49% of the viewing audience has hit the like button. If you hit that like, we can certainly push this around very deeply. Now, I know the anxiety's up this morning. I know a lot of people are probably bashing their head through the wall. Now, this can go one of 2 very distinct ways this morning. One, after a small shuffle up like we've talked about, right into around the area we're in, I suppose it could be a little higher. I just noticed this. It took off my EMA lines. I was going to say, it looks a little bare out here this morning. Looks a little bare. Let's get these back on here. There we go. So pushing through. Let's see, we're through the 20-day, but I'm more concerned about the 2-hourly, how this is setting up. Yeah, see, I could see us coming up. That's what I was saying, but 234-ish. I could see 234. If we get a rejection there, and this just doesn't look good this morning. This looks a little ugly. So the biggest problem for me right now, would I like to say maybe this is some kind of reversal? I mean, at some point, the problem is what Bitcoin's doing. The problem is Bitcoin did all of that work down, and watching it this morning when I'm about to take my shower, and so I'm like, all right, Bitcoin, come on. All you got to do is come down a few $1,000s more. Would it have really made anybody else think twice if it would have come from 94.5 down another 2,000? No. But typical fashion, watch Bitcoin. Are we going to reverse all the way back up now and retest the breakdown out of the rising wedge? Because if that's the case, now we got a bigger problem. If we come back up here and retest 99,578 before falling to 92.4 and get rejected, oh God, just punch us in the face now. Because then it's signaling, and I can't even stop this, it's signaling a move all the way down to sub 60K. And I'm telling you right now, if that's the case, and this rising wedge breaks down out of here, and it breaks down and we don't stop at 92.4 and make like some kind of a ascending formation that maybe we're grasping at straws here at this point. But the ascending formation, maybe if you come down to 92, you could look at more like an elongated triangle maybe instead of a wedge. That's the theory here. If somehow it was going to hold on, but I'm telling you right now, if it goes up to 100,000 and gets rejected just to come back down, this is going to be a substantial problem. Now, if we break back through and this is just a wick and we pull up by the end of the day and we're over 100K, no harm, no foul, and maybe that was just a wick pull through, still leaves us feeling pretty bad about ourselves because we didn't fill that gap. And it would remind me of the fair value gap XRP at $1.50 when it came to $1.61. And then we went all the way back up to $3 and something cents. And we kept saying, this sucks because we didn't come and fill that gap and it's going to get, and then it went and got filled on that historic liquidation. That's how I feel about Bitcoin right now. We did a great job coming all the way down, but here we are starting that morning reversal, leaving that gap fully in place. So no matter what kind of good, positive vibes I feel this morning, all I'm going to think in the back of my head is, you suck, Bitcoin. You suck. You could have just done this and took it out. Like, and to that regard, XRP, you suck. You could have just come down to $1.99 and finished out that part of this drop. Or if we wanted to come to $1.77 to $1.82, we could have just wicked down there. But now this upward volatility, if we're meant to get rejection here, this sucks. This is the worst case scenario that we're seeing right now. Oh yeah, this green's great, right? It's great. This actually will turn into a bigger drop if this continues, if we don't get volume with it. This is what I did not want to see this morning. And I have a lot of positioning, so believe me, I'm making money as it goes up right here. But in the short term, I'm losing consistency because I know exactly what needs to happen here, and it sucks. This is where knowing the charts and having an understanding of the formulation and what kind of levels are left out there, this sucks. Because this is trap central, most likely. This is bend over, get all comfortable here, not understanding and be like, oh, we found the bottom. And then you realize like, hey, hopefully. But the problem is we got that lingering sitting down here. So no matter what it does here, I'm waiting for that moment where all of a sudden it just drops out 5 to 10%. I wish Bitcoin would have filled it. There's no better way for me to say this than be careful this morning. Obviously there's opportunity, but at what cost here this morning? That's my problem. So now if we come back up to 265 first, which is possible, as we talked about yesterday, as long as we didn't lose that 219 to 222 area, in theory, we could still come up and reject that 265 area, 268, and then come down to that $1.99, $1.77, $1.80, we don't know, and finish out a megaphone. That is also possible, but the way it took right now with that death cross, Bitcoin forming what it did, going bearish in the stochastic here in the daily, it makes a lot of sense, not just for us in the charts, but for an alt season to just come on down, have a 5-day period where 3-day or a 2-day or a quick drop, come down and validate this pattern, because everywhere else, weekly's oversold. 4 hourly came into an area where it could have got extremely in the right direction, but no, it had to push up. Same thing with the rest of it. What we're looking for is not to come back up in all of these time frames, just have to dump back out, because now we're setting up a short squeeze drop in the smaller time frames if this continues, because we went overzealous. And you see this? You see this? Would you just take a look at this? With that big of a drop, with all of that nonsense, you're telling me this is all we can muster? This? Oh, this speaks to me that we're about to get kicked in the nuts. I'm going to be picking my dick off the floor for a whole new reason today, not out of goodness, out of the fact that it fell off. It's going to fall off if this volume continues. Like, I'm not supposed to be the bearer of bad news, and I always come in when I think there's a positive thrust. But right now, this is telling me we got to keep our eyes wide. We got to keep our eyes wide open. So, we'll see. We'll see if it comes down there. Scotty Trades, I agree with that zone down there. I want to see, what I wanted to see was this inverse pattern play out, which now it's unfortunate because it's still perfectly set up. It's just now we got the coupling fact of we're going to push ourselves into crazy overbought in the small time frames at rejection points. And this volume portfolio, let's see some of the other exchanges. Oh, this is horrendous. There's no volume. The big drop volume on this exchange, we had 25 million in the 45-minute. The big pullback candle, we've had 14. That's horrendous. This candle, 674. Well, it's only been 3 minutes. That's bad. Let's see the other chart. Oh, yeah, that one's not going to show it. Yeah, there's no volume. We need, at some point, we need freaking volume. Does anybody understand? Like, we need volume. Otherwise, this is going to continue, unfortunately. Hey, what is this? Some more gifted subs? Everybody got into the game. Look at that. Joseph Euler, thanks for being in towns over 6+ months with the XRP Predictor. And gifts a sub. And CZAM, welcome back in, friend. Second month with the Dust Zados Crypto News. Make sure if you're in here, you thank Mr. Euler for that gifted sub. He's been very generous. Crypto Cooter, thanks for being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram and in Tom's Army 6+ months with the XP Predictor along with Stephen G. Garbanzo for 3 months plus with the XRP Meteor along with Mario Mercedes Rodriguez. CZAM, good morning. And I'm so glad that you got that gifted sub. And he already said thank you. Excellent. Ben B, good morning. And thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year at the I Told You So Bad. It's Matt Grimes, Moo, Matthew Ramelli, welcome in. Moo says I'd like Bitcoin to go to 74,999 just to see Sailor. If Sailor gets cooked, we all get cooked. Just remember that. If Sailor gets cooked, we're getting cooked. He's gonna get called. Oh God, would it be bad? So I don't know. We could very well take this upward trajectory right now, which I'm not too fond of, but I know we have to go to 234 for XRP either way to see a direction. So let's just take this in. And hopefully that maybe it ends up being a, oh God, I wish it would have just went down to 92. Do you guys have that pit in your stomach? Like Bitcoin. Why couldn't you just do that? And then CZAM pays it forward by gifting a sub of his own. Now that is some beautiful stuff. Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And let's see who got the gifted subs. I don't know. Shashambo, Shagingo, Chabango. Somebody from the Asian regions got that gifted sub. Fancy drawing letters. Congratulations for being in Tom's Army or hieroglyphics. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. I greatly appreciate that. Oh, I know. 4 hours. That's what I'm saying in the 4 hourly. I mean, we've got the opportunity to go up here, which I didn't want to see necessarily because I would have rather us finish that drop down. But hey, if we're in an inverse head and shoulders, maybe we do go up to 265 and do this little, what we've been suspecting. Maybe we're just in a megaphone and we have to do something like that, unfortunately. Because that would give us a lot of severity back down to the bottom. I mean, I could see the megaphone on Bitcoin if you wanted to do it. But it's a slightly different kind of pattern. You'd have to do it from, you know, the influx of the pattern. I don't really want to put that in there because that's more in the middle of the pattern, though. It's a tough one for Bitcoin because I know in the end it's a rising wedge. I know you want to do it at the top. I get it. I understand exactly what you're talking about, Matt. You're talking about the top. I get it. But I still want to have the overall of the identity of this pattern showing true. We can go all the way to 239. Oh, absolutely. That's great point. 50% retracement from the drop, like Scotty said, 239. That's a great point. I could see that. That would cause max pain too, because then you're going to get a bunch of people who end up coming in here and they're going to get slaughtered if this happens. This is, to me, and I mean, unless it wants to take a bullish overtake, the problem is this pattern can technically come all the way out until the end of November. That's the problem with all of this. If we just work this out and Bitcoin does come down now, if Bitcoin breaks 92.5, oh, we are in some significant trouble because every single pattern is going to break the consolidation. It doesn't mean that it's over. Believe me, it's not over. But it's in our best interest to hold at worst for XRP that $1.77 to $1.82 at worst. Really, I'd rather just hold like $1.90-ish, maybe $1.88 at worst, $1.99 in real time if it came down fast enough. But you really can't afford to get below that $1.77 to $1.82. Otherwise, you're resetting all the way back then. Like, not back to the bottom, but you're resetting to that wick drop. For the ones who commented about my face, yeah, it healed remarkably. So, I mean, a lot of people were telling me I should go to that hospital or the doctor because I had first degree burn that. Oh, it was pretty bad. Whole side of my face. Well, I did the stuff I put on it with the colloidal silver and all the stuff I use. And just the natural healing process. And I mean, I'd say it healed pretty good for, this was last Saturday when it happened. So not even 7 days. And look how nice. I will admit it was very painful to pull off the dead skin from the new skin. That hurt but other than that, and the uncomfortableness for a week. But it healed really nicely. You can't even tell now. I mean, you can right here because it got deep. But it's going to take a while for that spot to heal. But it healed pretty remarkably. So I thank everybody for the good wishes for that. And Scotty Trades, thanks for being in Tom's Arm for your second month with Dust House Crypto News. And being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. I'm glad everybody's here too, Craig. Craig Carlson, thank you so much for the 6+ months with the XP Predictor, Craig. Mike, thanks for being in Tom's Arm for 3+ months with the XP Meteor, along with Mr. Stott. Arelli, welcome in as well. Says hit that like button. Yes, indeed. Don't disappoint Arelli. Mr. Stott said go to the doctor so they can study your freakish celery. I know. It is kind of freaky sometimes how quick I heal on stuff. Remember my orbital bone? I don't know if you were here, Mr. Carlson or Mr. Stott back then, but that was in 23. I don't think you were. But when I got that thing, I had a big gash up here, and all of a sudden, like a week later, it just like peeled off, and then it was just baby smooth. It was a weird thing. Hey, Mr. Stott, number 100 on the like. That is awesome. We don't have too much more pain. I know, Scott, or I mean, Scotty Trades in here, but MGT in the Telegram. But Scotty, I seen how you were talking to people in the Telegram, like telling people like, hey, don't go too crazy on this because we're almost exhausted here. That's why I really wanted that FEG at 92. I think it's 92,000, just around 92,480-ish. I really wanted it to fill. We were so close. I could taste it. Then the rebound from 92.4 coming back up to 100. Now you got possibility. Not to mention it would have been the easiest swing trade to take for XRP if that would have happened. Not that there's not an opportunity here, but it's just it was a more profound setup. Like a couple other things I noticed this morning. Gold when I woke up was down like $130. So the mining stocks were getting killed this morning, like killed. Some were down 7 to 8% in pre-market. Then all of a sudden, when the market opened, like B2 Gold was back down to 379 in pre-market. I don't know what was going on, but there was an overzealous panic mode. There was a panic moment in everything. Now, I still think gold and silver, we can have a massive consolidation still, but the way this pulled back up, that's remarkable. Let's see if we get above there. But if we want to come back down, we still have this in real time. We'll be somewhere around 3,700. Unless it works its way across like we've talked about. But this almost looks like, I don't want to say it, but could we be building some kind of rising wedge of our own in gold and silver? I don't know because we haven't done it yet. But let's just say this comes up. Say it uses this and it comes up and then we triggle out and then we do this. Well, then I start to question, maybe it is building some kind of, but that could also be a rising triangle. So maybe that's what we're starting to do here for silver or for gold. And then we'll see if that breaks. Then obviously we'll start to play down to here. So I'm watching this very interestingly with gold, with silver, because of knowing that we're going to get probably a 50 basis point rate cut in December, with quantitative tightening ending December 1st. We could have some parabolicness go there that we don't even understand yet. XDC this morning was down like 8-9%. There's a lot of things that were getting slaughtered this morning. Lanita was down like 11. I did buy a tiny bit more as it came down 11%. I think $110 worth or whatever. Something like that, or 160, I don't know. Just felt like a good spot in between the movement. It was down 11%. And seemed like every 11%, if I did a couple, like $100 and something, it would. So basically, I bought as much as I was down. Let's just put it. We bought as much as we were down at that point when it went down 11% on the day. So I just wanted to balance it a little bit. Anyhow, no real rhyme or reason, knowing that we could come back down to 92 or worse. Ethereum's flipped that loss into a gain right now. On the day, that is, which is interesting. We've got the looming death cross that's just about taking place. Ethereum short play here. I'm not talking about a short, but just a short reversal. Retesting that 3,340 seems pretty on point. Seeing if we can get back above the 4 hourly. Now the 2 hourly presents a whole different story because we're at it right now. So we'll see which trajectory we want to take. To me, this doesn't feel good. The fact that Ethereum came down here, why wouldn't it come back down to 2,873 while Bitcoin goes to 92? Why wouldn't it? I'm going to have to find a reason why not now. Because the volume, if it's the volume that I'm trying to figure out, we're not getting that buyback. I mean, to have such pedestrian volume is almost comical at this point. But then again, when you see volume like this, you know what it tells me? Retail is not part of the game, and institutions are in firm control. Like when you see volume like this, it doesn't always dictate the actual price movement. It dictates the validity of retail, honestly. That means institutions can play the back and forth game, and there's not much we can do about it except try to figure out their routine. That's all it means to me. Scotty Trade says, you just nailed Ethereum 2,863. Ooh. So yeah, within $10 of what you're thinking. Let's put this. Where's 2,863? I like to move down the path, because then we can see where we might be looking at. So you're saying right around within $10 of what I just said. So that would mean we'd get a hit somewhere around November 17th on Monday. Now that would speak into a bearish weekend, hitting the bottom on a Monday. And if we can hold that, then we could have a reversal on the top of this pattern buy. So ready? It's the same thing. Hey guys, so resistance buys support. So resistance buys support. Couldn't do shit because it swung back around. So sometimes that's why you have the medium level. See, that's the medium. So if it falls back below there, well, then you don't got to wait for support because you know it's coming back down for further consolidation. But I would say next opportunity's there. I mean, we're starting to roll down so much that it's getting ugly on here. These charts getting ugly now. We're going to delete some of this so that it's, here, let me get out the eraser, but these are the important parts. If you're a fan of XRP, you've got to know what's going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum and the rest of the market. You just got to know. Most people, what ends up happening is I start talking about Ethereum, I'll talk about Bitcoin. I don't like these piles of shit. Why do you talk about them? Well, one, because Ethereum's the gatekeeper to alt season. Two, Bitcoin right now, there's not a single asset you can say that doesn't ride its dick right now. Excuse my French. Anybody watching rides the grotesques of Bitcoin right now. So for those facts and those facts alone, we got no choice but to honor it as the granddaddy of them all right now. Not that I want to, but it's just the way it goes, folks. I don't trade Bitcoin. I hate Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a pain in my ass is what it is. Because I know it controls a lot of the momentum and it's artificial and it's the biggest Ponzi scheme known to man. And one day everybody's going to believe me that it's set up distinctly to bankrupt companies, countries, institutions, individuals Think of like Michael Saylor, who's basically part of the US government, just call it for what it is. He's a PSYOP. And he basically mortgaged MicroStrategy's entire future. And now all the shareholders are eating it. He takes out all these loans. So basically, he's the entity. Everybody's like, oh, we better hope Michael Saylor's doesn't sell. Michael Saylor's better hope Michael Saylor's doesn't sell because he has no leverage. He's screwed. If he sells any of his Bitcoin, it drops like a rock. So, it's just I don't care. If this makes me sound like a canonical piece of, trash, it doesn't bother me because I know at least you're hearing the truth from one source. I'm a source. I'm a self-proclaimed source. I am the single entity in the world that puts out the most consistent, and I'm probably, if they did a Guinness Book of World Records for XRP content, I probably would be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Somebody should look that up. Who's put out the longest stretch of XRP videos on a day in, day out basis for the longest stretch of time without any kind of inconsistency? So, I'm the foremost person to come to when it comes to XRP. It's just, that's the truth. There is not one person on this planet that studies it like I do, because I do it every single day. This is like a scientist who tries to create something in the lab, and they become the foremost expert because all they do is talk about it, or all they do is they're working on that exact principle. That's all I do. I've been looking at XRP every single day, all day, every day, since I started this channel and before, and March 24th of 2021. So we are the foremost expert in the community. Our community is the biggest expert when it comes to this. There's a reason why we can stay on track. Why, despite a market like this, if we just follow our principles, we're not losing money because we understand. I don't know if I know more about XRP. Well, probably more than Ripple. Yeah, probably. I think Ripple just uses XRP to an extent now. The more I see when it comes to the XRPC with Canary Capital, the more I see with Evernorth, how we have the XRPN, XRPNW, XRPNU, the way we have all these small little things. There's many avenues here that you start chomping away at. And I think XRP's plan, the illusion was that it's going to 1,000 or 10,000. The plan is for that micro movement between 10 and 20, settle in there somewhere, have it just out of reach for retail, but just in reach to be a treasury. Because the treasuries were bought at X amount, that would allow the price point on like XRP NU, like it would allow these price points for like the XRP ETF, that would allow that price point to start pushing $100 or $150. That would allow XRPNU to be in that $30, $40, $50 range. Have their bond or their treasury bond or their warrant, I should say, at $3, $4 a piece, maybe $5. That would be a high warrant cost. It would allow them to have their other one, XRPN, just their main one. That could be sitting at $20, $30 in this scenario. So everybody gets mad when I say this, but having a realistic expectation. We bought XRP, remember, at 34 cents, guys. The fact that we get to watch this market, whether it's imploding or not, at $2.33, it's remarkable. Because we still hear XRP never moves. It doesn't move. It only goes down. 1 year ago, we were talking about the 50-cent range. We're so short-minded. And then the other thing is that everybody doesn't realize is, yes, institutions are one thing, but that doesn't define anything because they don't even buy at the price we do. That's the number one thing. Institutions are buying not through the exchange like us. And we know this for a fact with XRP because we went through the official documents during the lawsuit time against the SEC, and they had the exact documents where we had to spend like 3 separate lives because it was 100 and something pages, and it took forever, like 3 hours a live. It was a lot of time. And we got the one part, and I'm like, oh my God, they put it in the very end. Remember, it was at the very back end of this entire thing. And it went to XRP price for retail, and then below it, it said XRP institutional price. They didn't redact that part of it. What they redacted was the price we both paid. That's scumbaggish. They should have redacted the fact that there was 2 separate points. The fact they let us see that has never rang. It's always stuck with me in a bad way. That they let retail, if we were willing to dig through the 100 and something pages and every sentence, they let retail see that, in fact, there was 2 different price points, but they didn't respect us enough to where they allowed us to see the 2 different price points. Imagine, we're buying XRP at 233 today, and what if the other pricing is 10 cents for them? Or what if it's a business deal? They're not even paying for it. They're just handing them it as a business deal. So that's a real thing, but it shouldn't make you not want to own XRP. It should just make you realize they've already got this set in place. That lawsuit was all bullshit, and it shouldn't have made you think not to buy XRP or hold it, because clearly that was all nonsense. Just on face value. So now we play with our emotions again, right? We're playing with our emotions. Well, Bitcoin's below 100,000. We know that there's a gap at 92.4. We know there's a ton of liquidity above, but we also know the farther we sneak down here for Bitcoin, the more liquidity that opens up sub 80K. There's a lot of liquidity down there. Yes, there's not a lot in this range around 92, but if you fall below 92 and start seeking out 85, 87, there's a lot of liquidity down there where people feel safe because they don't think it can come down there. The guru's getting his ass handed to him right now. I just don't understand. And I messaged him and I'm like, listen, how can you protect your capital? Because he's like, I'm not trading as much spot. I'm protecting capital, yada, yada. But he's trading leverage. And not only is he trading leverage, he called this rising wedge, the drop down to possibly 75-ish, called that initial drop down to 95 or 97, and 92 he's got on his board. And he bought, I'm being honest, he bought at 102. And then when it was at 99,000 and some change yesterday, he's down $8,000. And he's like, I just bought more. I'm going to build in you're building into a breakdown of a rising wedge? Like, do we do this on purpose? Like, are these influencers technically plants? Like, they will tell you to buy at the right times and spot at the bottom, but then they will crush you the whole way. I don't understand. How could you understand the bottom so good and then you're just going to keep piling into bullshit, and not just 5, 10x, 20x leverage? To the point where he's got to put 5 or 10,000 in margin just in case it comes down. Because if you're an isolated, you can put margin in. Go to your position and click the margin button. And if you want to lower the margin in isolated, you don't need to have cross on. You just add it into your margin. So if you take out a $2,000 trade and you want to make it a much lower margin, let's say liquidation's at $2.31, you're like, oh shit. You can add margin and it'll lower your liquidation price. It's just now that becomes up at stake, and you can't take that out until you sell the position. That's when you go into the negative. Like, you open a $1,000 position and now all of a sudden you see people down 1,500. You're like, wow, the fuck? They opened that at 1,000. How can they be down 1,500? Because they've added margin, and now they're doing the hope and the pray. When you hope and pray, that's when you make dumb decisions. I've seen people with $50,000 portfolios open up $5,000 leverage trades and lose all $50,000 because all they kept doing was adding margin, believing it could never go lower. And then they lose it all and they come back. And they've sent me messages and they come back and say, Tom, I need help. XRP future millionaire, I don't know what to do. It's like, I can't help you. I could have helped you before. That's like going to somebody when you make a bad purchase or you have a gambling problem and you go to somebody after you spend all your money. You lose it all. It's like, I need help. You do need help. Unfortunately, now you've got to start from the bottom, and it's going to make it that much harder on your psyche. That's why I always caution people. No, leverage might be instinctively an opportunity. Remember yesterday, I even said if you took out leverage, don't have a 35x because you can't. At 228, you get liquidated. You would have had to have been able to ride, like, what did we say yesterday? 219. You would have had to have leverage down to 219. And that came awfully close. Even being safer like that on a drop. It came to 222. God only knows on specific exchanges if it came below. But I feel like this is liquidity trap. Like, these are the liquidity moments. So what we build here, and yes, I know I talk through that a lot, but it's real points here. So right now we're built within this little, I would say a little channel setup if you look at it like this. Obviously, this would have to come through like this, and you'd be looking at it from these points, right? So, and you can go back because it would match up back here, but this is just where we started in this up and down volatility after we hit support, resistance, support, resistance. Now it seems to be trending back to resistance, or I mean, support. And then you've got to look at it a little bit farther. This would be if we open it up into a megaphone. We also had the breakdown of that little pennant that it looked like a bearish pennant. Higher highs, lower highs, higher lows. Met, broke down. So we broke down out of the bearish pennant as it turned out. Came down. Now we create this little megaphone on the consolidation. Is that a bearish megaphone, bullish megaphone? That I will let you decide, but all you need to know is if we do fill this out to 265 and down to 190, even if we come down, we could come down here first. I would argue if we come down first, it'd be more bullish because then we don't have to go up and eventually maybe fade through. The worst case scenario is you fade through there and then you come fill out this wick. Like that would be bad. You start filling that stuff out. I mean, I do that line down there for a reason because if you don't hang here, I think once you start coming down, because if you start falling down too far, we double top. Like, listen, and I don't want to go down this angle, but what if it was over? People have asked me all the time. It goes down 9/10 on everything you own. If we failed, it's down 9/10. Let's say that's top one, top two. If that's the case, let's just say that's the case. And we trickle down, we fail. We come all the way back down here. And what's the significance of this? Well, I'm going to tell you the significance. No one else is going to tell you. Okay. When we had a pattern from January of 2018 until November of 24, and we finally broke out. What's the one thing missing? A volatile back test. And I can already tell you for a fact that there was a gap left, a nice FVG one back in 2020 at 10 cents and some change when that lawsuit was announced. We immediately bounced back up to like 18 or 20 cents on the next move. Never came all the way back down, not even close. So if this whole season is for naught and we've topped out, that's where we're going. That's where we're going. There's no reason to even dispute. Tom, if you sold out of all your crypto, where would you buy back? And we broke down this bolt right there. And it would be painful. Now there is that, hey Tom, well, not necessarily, right? We could still come up that uptrend, right? That is true. But I mean, now we're just there. So instead of going to 10 cents in that scenario, you draw a little bit of justification and you're like, well, maybe it only goes to 57, 50. I mean, at that point. So, but that's worst case scenario. I'm not saying that's happening. I don't even think that's in the playing field right now. I'm just saying, because people are always like, what's the worst that can happen? That's the worst that can happen. But I don't suspect we're going down that line. Otherwise, this is a failed season and we're not going to have an alt season. If that happens, oh man, it's going to be it would be brutal. Short the shit out of these ISOs. What exactly? I mean, that would be the problem. If that ended up happening, you could never look at this market the same again. Ever. The ETFs would have ate the entirety of the functionality. That's the reason I hate the ETFs. That's the reason I hate all this stuff going on the NASDAQ, in the stock market, in the Dow, in the Russell when they try to do it in certain things. Because it eats up our liquidity. Think about all those people that would have had to come into crypto to trade XRP. They don't even have to risk having an exchange and buying it now because guess what? They can now go on the NASDAQ. They can go buy the ETF and they can have exposure. I wouldn't buy the ETF for exposure personally. I would buy the XRPNU, XRPNW, XRPN. Those are where I think you can get real volatile exposure. So if we're going to have a good bullish run, I think that's where the money would be more so than the ETF. But it's likewise. You can get in all of them if you don't want to be in the market. Death Cross versus 200 EMA battle at 220. Oh, it's a big one, Moo Moo. Oh, it's a big battle we're having. Oh, it is the B system, John. But not in the way you're thinking. It's not going to be the one world currency. If there was something that was going to be one world currency, we've already knows which one that is for tokens. That's WorldCoin. They have universal partnerships in every country in the world to do this. So it's not going to be the way you think. XRP is going to be the liquidity. WorldCoin would be the identity. There's a difference. That's why I don't invest in WorldCoin. I'm not investing in the token that is actually the one world currency. So do I, Scotty. I see what they're doing too, unfortunately. XRP becomes world liquidity. WorldCoin becomes the universal. I don't want to even go to it, but that's what they're trying. Look it up. They've got all the deals with the WEF and the World Health Organization. Oh, it's such a. That's why I don't talk about it. I hate that token. It's the other reason I don't invest in Poly anymore, POL. It used to be Matic because they created the digital ID for crypto. They are the ones who, it's called Poly ID. They created the patent so that we can have biometrics in crypto some years ago, back in like 21, 22. Yeah, so if you want to blame somebody, blame them. What is it? WLD or something for WorldCoin? Let's see. Can't exactly remember. Or what is it? I don't remember exactly. I try to block it out because I know it's the one WorldCoin. WLD, yeah, so I couldn't even block it out enough. In fact, I still remember that. Irritates me. But yeah, this is going to be the one. That's the one that they've pegged to have universal income if we ever go to it. That's why you have stuff like this happen all the time. But this is the one. This is the one they pegged. I always told myself if it ever came back to that initial wick, I would maybe look at it. I just never thought it would. And now it actually came to that. Maybe if it comes through and it's at the cheap, maybe I would look, because this is something that always sticks with me too, because I look at it from time to time. Look at that weekly. Look at all that volume and look at the sell-off volume. Something ain't right here. But for such a bearish time in crypto, we're not exactly getting that follow-through sell-off. It's almost like this is a very articulated sell-off here. I think Scotty Trades is starting to feel that too, because I can see some of the frustration like I'm dealing with myself. Because he can see things deeper than most can. No disrespect to anybody else in the community. But I feel like him and Nick especially can see things just a little bit deeper, and they're seeing things aren't exactly lining up in a bit. For being bearish like it's supposed to, we're not getting the metric reading like we're supposed to. You're not supposed to be this oversold in the weekly when you're about to have an all-out breakdown. You're not supposed to be like this. It almost feels like a big setup for a huge breakout coming. Like this is the biggest bear trap in the history of crypto is what it feels like to me. It doesn't make any sense. It could not have happened if it would have been ruled in equity. You are 100% right about that, Mr. Trades. Yeah, Sam Altman absolutely pushes this token out the yin-yang. They bring the market down to bring in bigger liquidity. Yep. I think that's what we're doing, Lonzo. I think that's what we're doing. And that's why I keep saying be careful about buying the dip, unless it's the real dip. The only actual dip we had in this entire drop was when we had the historic liquidation where we were buying it back. That's really the only spot. And, you know, watching some of this, and I don't know if I can stomach watching WorldCoin for any length of time. I just think it's interesting how this is riding right now. Because I am the person who likes extreme opportunity. So let's just say this rides down. And for whatever reason, by the end of the year, this is sitting at 15. It's sitting at 10, 20. I may throw a couple $1,000s at 10,000 tokens if it comes down in that area. That is something I might do. It's not guaranteed, but it's something that I could see myself doing because I know the projection of this token. And not that I want to be a part of it, but I do like to make easy money, if that makes sense. So this week, despite everything being bad, we had one monster trade to start the week. And now we can sit back and kind of watch what's going on. We had one chance at a leverage trade. I mean, I guess you could have had multiple chances, but I just thought it was the appropriate time. This is just too volatile up and down. And it proved to be like a 400% area where we could take advantage. There is an opportunity here. I'm not in no leverage. I won't be when it's like this. It hasn't given me my protocol that I want either way. Could I have taken one? Sure. But it just, I have a certain understanding with myself that I have to do. I'm not trying to buy something to just ride it for a quick 2 seconds. I want to see it play out. So before we had it at 219 to 221 area, and we knew it had to come up to that 255. So we played it out there. This time I would have liked to have seen a $1.99 touch. I'm not going to lie. Because right now it sets us up for a nut punch, let's just say. The best way I can put this is we're being set up for a drop kick. Hopefully not, but that's what it seems like. Well, I mean, the WorldCoin thing, that is kind of true. Sell your soul, buy WorldCoin. Soon that'll be true because you're going to have to use biometrics. So that's going to be a truer statement than we would like to think. That's going to be all of crypto, though. So just that's why I'm enjoying this time in crypto now. But isn't it remarkable how most of the altcoins, did they really get beaten up that bad? Like, this is why I wasn't telling everybody to liquidate everything on this drop, because it just, it doesn't seem like, I mean, it's, honestly, when you've seen how much things drop, when you've expected to see 15, 20% on our tokens and the alts, that tells me that we might be drying up a little bit here. There might not be as much selling pressure, probably because there's not as much retail in. By the way, LAES got back down to 470, just proves that you have to be patient when you miss something. Remember when it went all the way up and I said, guys, I know we didn't buy it and we didn't hit it, but now the next opportunity is when it comes back and back tests this whole thing if it comes down. We come all the way down from $8.61. And I said, just listen, I'm just as mad. I love this thing.
Teddy, I just finished this enough. I think I'm going to take him outside.
Oh, you want to go outside?
Well, he's standing up.
Oh, I'm almost done. I'm already 51 minutes. I can meet you out there. Okay, I love you. Perfect.
I'm gonna go home around 2.
Yeah, that's what she told me. I told her if she needed anything for her dance stuff, or if she needs any like materials to tell us so that we can help her, because I want her to have all of her stuff. Okay. Anyhow, let's see. I've seen crypto go inverse the stock market. Absolutely. And I mean, in this scenario, what we're building to, we technically, as we've said, we should find a sense of panic before we get into the next rate cut is what should happen. But I don't know. Everything's so backwards right now. I still have my eye glued to the crude oil. I have my eyes glued to it because, man, they had a chance too to drop this down. I just need to see this. It feels like with oil, whoops, shit. I'm waiting for one big drop, but now we got this V shape, and it's like, come on, oil, don't do this and rally up. Man, if we could get this one last drop like they traditionally do, oil has historically, right before big push ups, they like to have the catastrophic drop before it. They give you the illusion and then it goes up. So the illusion and then it drops out. You know, they like to do. So I was thinking maybe $29 a barrel. And I know it sucks. If you're looking for investment, it doesn't suck if you're going to put gas in your car. But I'm looking for validation here. Like, I want validation. And I really, you guys know I'm hardcore looking at this because they're going to be pushing American oil. Remember, that's what we're going to try to do here in 26. So I have Northern Oil and Gas Incorporated is where I feel like this could be a big push here. And they're not losing money. They're actually making money. Well, they were losing money. But this year they're doing better. As you can see, they're making money this year. So And they pay a dividend. It's at 8%. Holy shit. Okay, I was going to say they must have some problems here lately. See with the fall off of gold? I mean with the oil, black gold. 485 million in revenue, net income minus 129 million. So they're offering an 8% dividend right now. Man, I feel like they 1 year price target they have at $32. Is that right? Yeah, 1 year price target is $32.45. That's remarkable. Tom, check out my previous comment. Lonzo, thank you for the $2 donation, says. Lonzo, all-time highs incoming for January, before January. It's possible. It only makes sense to me that they bring the market down to bring a bigger and bigger liquidity. That's what I think. All season coming once everyone gives up. We're getting there. We're getting there. I don't know what the fear and greed index was this morning. I know yesterday was 17. I really wanted it to go down to 12 and it went up. So now it's at 16. So it's hanging around this extreme fear. Extreme fear is a good area. It's a real good area. I always like to see that one last drop off in extreme fear. Oh no, Alonzo, don't be sorry. I typo all the time. Is crypto inverse the stock market is typically the... Yes. Yes. You are... Typically, if we're going inverse to stock market, it's because we're in an alt season. That doesn't mean the stock market can't roll with it, but a lot of times the money that would be in the stock market technically flips into our alt season, and then people are, instead of taking the risk in stocks, they end up buying into the alt season. That is not untrue. That has happened in the past cycles. I am unbelievably fascinated by what's going on with the miners, how they picked up. So like some of these miners were 7 to 10% down in pre-market. That's just a remarkable recovery. I don't understand why it would have done that. I mean, I do, but overzealous selling. Or they're setting us up for the next leg. Anyhow, daily for XRP. I mean, I've seen worse. I just know we have a lot of stuff underneath, but I've seen worse charts. There's no doubt about that. We've seen worse charts. Bitcoin is in no man's land. Are we coming up to retest the fallout of that rising wedge at 99,570? I don't know. It's possible. I wish we would have filled, and I'll continue to say this, that 92,400 and some change. Would have loved to have gotten that out of the way. Fear and greed index, I use alternative.me because CoinMarketCap it's not updated as quickly. It doesn't feel like. This is the one I trust. So I base it on alternative.me, and it's years of studying this stuff that I do that. If we go back to the low we had in the last 1 year, I think it was right 10. We got down to 10. February 27th, we're trying to take out that. That's where we're heading towards. We might not take it down entirely, but that's the lowest we got this year. We got down to 10. So that's what we're hunting. So I'm going to go outside with my son, everybody. Hopefully we'll be able to be back tonight at around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope this helped. I encourage you, look in the video description below and our pinned comments. And make sure you, if you're looking to trade, if you want to be part of the copy trade with Linnea from We Add, make sure you join me on TOOBIT. And then when you go into TOOBIT, you go to the copy trade section and type XRP Future Millionaire. Don't just follow, subscribe. We have 25 people following, only 11 people subscribe, which means 14 people are not allowed. They won't be able to copy trade. They can watch, but they won't be able to copy trade. Also, I think that's a good place for the USA to do leverage and spot and things like that. No KYC, lowest fees, and they're advancing into the USA. Still love BITUNIX, as you know. You've seen my trade from earlier in the week. Just be safe. They have low spot and leverage trading fees as well. They have they have XPR Proton on there, which is my main thing for spot. When I'm in it, I like to be in it on there. And then for WEEX, they have what I own with IOTA, the 100,000 IOTA. These are all no KYC exchanges. And they have DAG, as we found out as well, if you're a fan of DAG. But my highest encouragement right now would be TOOBIT, then BITUNIX, and it just depends what your angle is. But those are the ones I trust right now. When things change, I'll let you know. And things on that as well. You're welcome, Garbanzo, and thanks for giving Scotty the recognition he deserves. How will the passage of the Clarity Act impact this? That is a great question that we will get into deeper later, but the Clarity Act, to me, makes it so very clear that we're going to get a massive rug pull at some point when we go to biometrics. The Clarity Act, the only thing it clarified for me is the fact that everything we thought is actually true. And in the end, this isn't going to be the end game. This avenue is going to close at some point. So when the majority feel like this is the avenue, it's going to end, and we're going to find the next great avenue. So I'll leave you with this.
Sunny days, sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. I wear glasses 'cause I'm so cool. I can predict the charts. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again. Sunny days, here again.
Be blessed, everybody.
Sunny